What's going on, family? Welcome back. I know it's been a while since I uploaded here, but today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the long-term market cycles of Bitcoin. I think we're at a very crucial point right now, and I really want to put this content out to help, everybody see what I see. Again, all of this is going to be personal opinion based off technical analysis using Wyckoff logic. This is not financial advice. You guys will have to do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and then make decisions based off of that. But I did want to share this with you guys just to give everybody a little bit of insight into what I'm looking at on the charts. And I want to begin today by looking at a chart that I published on May 22nd, 2021. I originally had made this when we fell from the 58K levels all the way down to 30K. We had a crazy 40 to 50% correction depending on how you want to look at that. And I want to really break this down because I'm still seeing the same things that I saw back in the end of May. We are currently here at the end of June, and I think things are really starting to shape up for the better. Of course, again, this is just my own personal opinion, but let's quickly break this down. So we'll just start with the beginning here. We had a nice little markup on Bitcoin, right? We entered a period of reaccumulation, which is also very standard after a markup, which caused another markup. And then we entered a period of distribution, which ultimately led to the correction that we saw. Now, once this correction happened, there were a few different things I was looking at that made me think, hey, even though we've had a kind of crazy correction here, it's to be expected, Bitcoin is pretty volatile. Is there any reason for us to continue looking bullish? And of course, there were some key things that I found based off Wyckoff logic that made me believe that. One being we never really broke any sort of major market structure area. Breaking out from the distribution and breaking these lows is pretty standard for a correction, but if you notice, we actually held the major market structure levels right from the reaccumulation, which is very important because this allows us to form longer term higher lows, gives us the ability to potentially continue with that longer term kind of bull run without giving us any sort of market structure reasons to start looking the other way. All right, so we have the major market structure level which held. That's not going to be number one. Number two is we also have this institutional candle area here that we perfectly kind of tested with inside of. Again, that's just a market structure point. Now, what really interested me about this was this whole move to the downside. If we take a look at the volume associated with that, right, there's a lot of volume associated with it, but it never surpassed the volume levels that we saw in the reaccumulation. And if you know anything about the law of effort and Wyckoff logic, this is actually a major indication that the sellers are not as committed as you may think they are. Yeah, it's a big price movement. There's a lot of volatility, but there's really not much, Bitcoin exchanging hands as there has been previously. This kind of divergence leads us to believe that we'll probably enter another period of reaccumulation and that this is more of a correction than anything else, right? So this is, again, for me, the biggest takeaway, right? That law of effort. And if you're not sure what the law of effort is, you guys can search that up, Google it, get the full Wyckoff definition of that. But again, it's just showcasing us that the sellers are not as committed as they were previously. They did not break any market structure. And because of this, as we enter into the unknown here, there's going to be one of two things that happen, right? The only two sub-cycles that we have in Wyckoff logic, either redistribution or reaccumulation. We'll either distribute from the oversupply up here, or we'll actually reaccumulate, again, because we're holding market structure and there was a lack of more effort from the sellers. And, again, based off that market structure, based on no new low, we're going to bet on that reaccumulation. So that was the whole idea that we were looking for when it came down to, our forward thinking over this past, extra month. And what's happened is we've actually formed a pretty giant trading range, right, in between this old area of imbalance between, 40 and 44K and these lower levels of 30,000 and even slightly below. All right, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to a live chart, a live 4-hour chart. We're actually going to break this down. Before I do that, I do want to say that what we're about to get into is Wyckoff analysis. We are going to be using a schematic very similar to this. I'm actually going to see if I can overlay this on top of the analysis we're about to do. But this is basically what we're going to be looking at on the 4-hour. So if I tab over to some live price action right here, you can actually see the same levels that we have marked here, right? The major market structure level here, This is just the bottom of the range, and then this is those two zones that we were looking at, right? That old imbalance between 40 and 44K, and then this old institutional candle. Now, me taking a look at this and us kind of looking at our Wyckoff schematic, right? It looks like it's playing out literally perfectly, right? We have the same kind of characteristics, but the market structure alone is not going to be enough. We need some volume confirmations. We want to see that same kind of volume divergence that we saw in the higher time frames. So I'm going to quickly break this down, and you guys can form your own opinion about everything. Just to kind of show this again, we're going to be looking for these three or four kind of phases inside of here. So I'm going to quickly just mark this up. Again, this is going to just be my own opinion here. You guys will have to formulate your own ideas. But we do have our very clear selling climax, our AR, our automatic rally, or automatic range, however you want to phrase that out. Whoops. Right, we have our ST here. It's very simply going to be our supply test. And then at this point, we started to enter that phase B kind of area, right? So that's our phase A market environment. Phase B is just going to be this long, dragged out kind of buyers versus sellers, a lot of, orders being exchanged at various levels. The only thing to note inside of here is our ST in phase B, which we had most certainly got all the way over here. All right, it took a little bit for us to get it, but we got it. Right, at that point, not gonna lie to you guys, I was originally looking at potentially inside of the range spring here. A lot of you guys that are in my Telegram channel know we were looking at that, which is a different schematic that we're not gonna go over today. But we got that ST in phase B. Again, more noise. And the important thing for us is going to be this phase C. So phase C is just a spike below the range, right? Kind of liquidating out all the last of the sellers, right? Grabbing that best price they could possibly get. And this is actually where things get really interesting for me. So I believe we've been forming our spring potential this entire time. If you actually look at this zone, and we kind of look at what I have over here, we've been awaiting a spring below these levels for some time here, right? We had this zone marked out. This text is a part of the box. We were awaiting a spring below this level. This was very important to me. It seems that we have now finally got that. So if I just really quickly remove this text, just so we can kind of see what's going on here, we get rid of this text too. Right, just so we could see what's going on. Right, we were waiting for a spring below this level. Now, it does seem that we've got this. We still need a little bit of extra confirmation, but if this is truly a spring, guys, if this is truly the last little bit of liquidity being grabbed before we start breaking out to the upside, again, you can see here spring is the final test to the low of the range. What we should see is some good reactions off to the upside. Now, I'm making this video because I truly believe this is what we're seeing. Right? I truly believe this is what we're seeing. You guys can formulate your own opinions, but it is my firm belief that this is our spring here, right? And there's a few things that make me believe this. One, if we kind of take a look, again, applying the law of effort to the charts, right? Looking at the effort behind the sellers and the buyers at various points, we have this extreme effort from the sellers, which we already know is less than we've previously seen in the old reaccumulation. And if we look at every dip to the lows afterwards, there hasn't been much effort, right, from sellers to continuously bring price down. I know that one's a little hidden. I'm sorry about that. And you guys can even see as we kind of approach the lows, we did get some influx of sell volume, but ultimately as we went lower, all right, the law of effort again in full effect. The sellers are just kind of drying up. And then now we have this spring-like activity where we actually get a huge increase of buying volume, right? Higher than we've seen since arguably the beginning of the range, right? So this indicates to me that we're actually starting to shift in our supply and demand, right? The demand is actually starting to get increased over that extra supply from the sellers. You can actually see this has started to surpass a lot of the selling volume down here. Now, this alone isn't enough to convince us that this is the spring. We do want to start seeing some minor market structure levels break. And as you guys can see, we're already kind of testing some lower time frame resistance here. So what I want to see, and I'm already pretty bullish based off this spring-like action, but I do want to see price get back above this 33K level. I actually want to see it get above 33.5, 33.7, and I want to see this bullish volume increase. Now, as long as this level holds, right, and we can come down and test within this, right, because we do expect, again, that potential test to happen to the spring, right? As long as we hold that spring, we should see a really nice recovery in Bitcoin, really allow us to restart those higher time frame market cycles. And I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. This isn't going to be a long video. I'm not going to drag this out, but I believe that we have hit, peak fear. I mean, we have things like the whole, Chinese banning Bitcoin mining, right? Them taking apart some of those miners. We've had a lot of hash rate, a dip in the hash rate as a response to that, naturally, right, with less miners out in China. And I really do believe that things fundamentally probably won't get too much worse. The only thing that I could see that could really, really throw a bigger wrench inside of this is potentially, companies that have recently publicly bought Bitcoin, things like Grayscale or MicroStrategy or even Tesla kind of announcing that they've exited their positions. Now, we have no reason to believe that's true. MicroStrategy has a 100-year plan. Grayscale has their trusts. And Tesla has already, well, Elon has already said that they didn't sell out previously, so why would they be selling out now? If anything, they might have capitalized and bought more. So going forward, some of the things that I'm looking for is I'm actually looking for more SEC filings to go public for companies buying out this dip. If any company bought this dip in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, right over the course of the past month, we might actually see some of those SEC filings go public. But just based off the technicals here with this spring, if we can get back above these levels and we can start seeing some more bullish volume, we're really going to see some of these higher technicals start to come into play. Now, my first area that I'll be looking at, right, is going to be this new area of imbalance up in 53K. I know that seems like a dream right now for everybody. People are probably going to think I'm crazy calling that, but as long as we hold this spring, I believe that this market cycle will continue to the upside. Right. Again, if we kind of just take a look at the volume, this entire range, the selling volume has been very low, and now the buying volume is starting to uptick. Right. So if I were you guys, I would monitor this very closely. Again, as long as we hold this, which to me is a very clear spring of the range, we should see this go bullish. So that's just my opinion on this. I'm excited to see what other people have to say in the comments. Please let me know your thoughts. Are you guys bullish? Are you guys bearish? Do you guys think we're in a bear market? Right? Do you guys think that this is the end all be all, that we have to wait until the next halving for things to continue? Again, in my opinion, this thing is getting ready for takeoff. Again, not financial advice. Come to your own decisions. Let me know in the comments. Appreciate every single one of you. And I'll see you guys in a few weeks. See what happens. I'm either going to be very publicly right or very publicly wrong, and I'm cool with either. So thanks for tuning in. Give me a sub if you guys found this valuable. If you guys want to see more content like this, let me know. Love and appreciate all of you. See you guys in the next one.